Salamangreats haven't even made it into the TCG as yet, and already their reputation precedes them. They've been racking up spots in the OCG metagame, and for a lot of people, they seem to be the most anticipated deck, and rightfully so. What this archetype does especially well is managing its resources. They can turn one card into three, two cards into five, and still have a hand of like three or four cards left. Turn one, they can establish some considerable interruptions. I mean, they can recycle Ash Blossom, and going second, they even have OTK potential. Now, I think it's fantastic that Konami decided to make a deck like this so affordable in a structured deck, but at the same time, it reminds me of like ABC format or Monarchs when everywhere you turn, there were just people playing these tree structure decks. So I don't want to feed this fire. If this deck is going to be as popular as everyone thinks, we need ways to play around it. And today, I want to share with you my top picks for beating the Salamangreat strategy. As with many other decks, going first you'll have the best chance to interrupt their plays, and a great card to do that is there can be only one. This Floodgate is the bane of monotype decks, and guess what? Salamangreats is an all cybers type deck. Flipping this trap on them can prevent them from expanding their board, or if you flip it when they already have a few monsters out, it can act as a pseudo board wipe. Salamangreats are also very graveyard synergistic, which makes a card like Different Dimension Ground very debilitating to what the deck wants to do. Gazelle summons itself when a monster is sent to the grave. They have a built-in Foolish Burial. They reset traps from the grave. Chaining a Different Dimension Ground on their draw phase can essentially take away their whole turn. Also, a good way to prevent them from link climbing is DNA transplant. A lot of their link monsters require fire monsters, so changing their attribute essentially becomes a floodgate. There's also an interaction which I love with Mirage Stalio and any attribute manipulating card. Stalio locks them into using only the effects of fire monsters for a turn, so if you modify their attributes, their own monster will act like a skill drain on them for that turn. Summon limit is another way to prevent them from expanding their board. As soon as they make their second summon, you can flip this up and lock them out for the turn. But here's another one I want to mention, and it's where I get into some pretty weird territory. I actually want to suggest Lair of Darkness as a side deck option going against Salamangreats. As I mentioned before, attribute manipulation makes it very awkward for Salamangreats to play, and Lair of Darkness makes all monsters on the field into dark monsters. If you use this card in tandem with something like Metaverse, you can drop Lair on their turn and really interrupt their plays. Called by the Grave is also a card I cannot go without mentioning. Unique to the Salamangreat archetype is the Reincarnation Link. They have to use one of their Link monsters to make another copy of itself to gain more effects, and when they do that, they put that Link monster in the graveyard where it can be hit by Call by the Grave and you can stop their effects. Now, I also think Book of Eclipse or cards with similar effects can be very effective if timed correctly. Their first summon or couple of summons are actually crucial to allowing the deck to build up momentum. A lot of their monsters need them to either link summon or control a face-up Salamangreat in order to further special summon themselves out, and Book of Eclipse can really help interfere with that. Now I'd like to look at some of our going second options. This is always a bit challenging because you'll have to either play through an established board or have to time your hand traps precisely, but as difficult as it might be, it is not impossible, and the first card I want to mention is actually Hey True Need. This card has seen such sparse competitive experimentation, but the reason why I like it against this deck is because two of the most disruptive cards in the Salamangreat arsenal happen to be trap cards. Not only that, but Salamangreat Roar is often reset from the graveyard but gets banished when it leaves the field. This makes Hey True Need a form of removal but without the cost like Twin Twisters, so you can still preserve your hand advantage and combo off against them later on. Now, Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is also pretty viable for making their plays inefficient, especially if you target a key combo piece like Sunlight Wolf or Mirage Stalio. I chose to put Effect Veiler on this list because they tend to play through Ash Blossom pretty well and they can also chain block, but we know Effect Veiler don't care about no chain blocking, and in my experience, Veilering the Stallion can force them into some pretty suboptimal positions. Finally, a lava golem or sphere mode eating up their field can be a way to neg them while turning off the roar, since it needs them to control a Salamangreat monster in order to activate. So, in the end, these were the tactics that I used to combat Salamangreats. Let me know what you think about them. Maybe you have some better strategies, because in the end, I'm just a scrub, but I'm also a scrub lord.